Hey, welcome to English 4E. This is class 31. Today we are working on assignment K37, which is the beginning of unit 4. This is Jillian Percy. Here is the contact information. As always, PowerPoint's a little bit slow when I started. Okay. Facebook and YouTube is capital G, capital P, E-R-C-Y, space, capital W, A-H-S-A. My email is jillian.percy@nnecschools.org if you want to send me a question about an assignment. I'm not in the studio right now, so it's kind of being pre-recorded. Office number is 1-800-667-3703, extension 2211. If you have finished assignments, send them in to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. Always include your name, the course name, and the assignment number and name. If it asks for a rough and a good draft, which some of the assignments do, please include both and label which is which. I know it sometimes seems like it should be really obvious, but it isn't always. And they often get marked differently, so please include it so I know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. Today's work. We're going to understand how to fill out a job application form, how to write a cover letter, and how to use a computer program to draft a cover letter. Okay, so here is the cover for Unit 4. And this is all about workplace stuff. Got career planning, applying for work, completing a cover, job application form, writing a cover letter, Ontario Skills Passport, developing a resume, job interview questions, workplace health and safety, accommodating activity, which is an employability skills portfolio, and then a Unit 4 checklist. Okay, in this fourth and final unit of your course, you will focus on career planning and the job search process. This grade 12 course may very well be the last one you need credit to complete your high school program, or may perhaps be one of several needed in order to graduate. Whatever your situation happens to be, this course would not be complete without providing you with important information and practical applications concerning career options and searching for a job. You will therefore learn about the forms of communication that are associated with the job search and the need to practice with these forms at this time. The forms to be examined include the application form, the letter of application, which is like a cover letter, and the resume. Follow-up letters, which can be written and sent after the interview, will also be covered. It's important to realize there are a variety of career options that you can pursue once you've graduated from high school, if that is what you're interested in. So post-secondary education. High school is sometimes referred to as secondary education. Post-secondary is what you do after high school. So depending on your interests, needs, and skills, you may choose to enroll in a college program and work towards a certificate or a diploma, off to university somewhere and work towards a degree. Perhaps you'd like to participate in some type of training program that could be completed in less than 1 year. You may not want to leave your family and community to attend school elsewhere and instead try to get yourself a job at home. The decision is yours to make. These days with COVID, so many things are online. You might not have to choose to stay with family. You might be able to stay with family and do coursework online. It kind of depends on the type of program you want to do. Okay, upcoming portfolio project. We all have decisions to make in life, and those surrounding education should be at the top of the list in order to be successful with whatever we do. It is strongly recommended that you at least do your very best with your courses while still in high school and graduate with your Ontario secondary school diploma. The fact of the matter is that there's generally some good competition among people for the best jobs out there, and you need to be prepared. Doing well in this ENG 4E course will no doubt make a real difference towards your overall success in the workplace you find yourself. With this unit, you will discover the variety of options open to you, the amount of schooling required, and then follow the procedures to obtain work in a chosen field. The culminating activity for this unit is to develop a personal portfolio. You'll be given an outline of the items to be included in your portfolio, and you'll be demonstrating not only your understanding of career and job search material, but also the ability to follow instructions and have a sense of direction or organization. Career planning. Being organized is an important skill for the workplace as well as at home. You are once again encouraged to read and examine the material here, along with completing some assignments. You have perhaps been thinking about what you'll do once you receive your diploma. Once again, what you decide to do will depend on your interests, needs, and skills. To ensure that you are fully aware of the variety of career options available to you after graduation from high school, if that is what you want, you can check out websites such as jobbank.gc.ca and indeed.com. You can also visit the website of any college, university, or other training institution for all sorts of information on programs and services offered, which I believe we talked about yesterday, and we'll probably be talking about some more today and over the next few days. Okay, career versus occupation. Anyone who's taken OLC 40 may find this picture very familiar. A career is a term used to cover related types of work. Examples of careers are hospitality, aviation, and education. An occupation is more like a job, and it refers to something more specific, like front desk clerk, pilot, elementary teacher. This is talking about the different sources of information. It's a little bit outdated. People is probably your best source. Teachers and counselors, professional associations, people working in the occupation, friends and families. Also, obviously, experience, part-time work, volunteer work, job shadowing, work experience programs like co-op and stuff. Print, professional journals, books, newspapers, magazines, government brochures. Video, like TV, I wouldn't worry about those. Computer, career software, internet would be your big one these days. I don't think anyone even has CD-ROMs anymore. Okay, sources of information. So basically like the print version of this, the picture we had before. Other sources of information useful for career planning and the job search process include certain print resources, which may be found at your learning center, school, band office, or other possible locations around your community. Also, internet websites devoted to these topics are worth checking out, and working people around your community can be a valuable source of information. If you're visiting Sue, you look out and you have time to spare, a stop at Sue Hudson Employment Services would be good. Not positive that it is still open. I know the website is down. I don't know if the services center is still open. So I would want to call ahead first and check if they are still open. They used to help with things like cover letter writing, resume writing, interview strategies, and career planning. Looking for work can be competitive. Having a good education helps. Oops, hang on. Okay, so activity 1 is about applying for work, and it's worth 70 marks. In this activity, you'll have the opportunity to examine the ways of applying for work. In order to be successful in your quest for that special job, you need to be familiar with the following written forms: a job application form, a letter of application, and a resume. It's also necessary to understand the importance of the job interview and to be prepared for one. These will be the focus of activity 2. Through practical application, you will know how to produce these forms as needed and be ready for a successful job interview should you get called for one. Just in case anyone hasn't got this, you have to have a social insurance number to be able to work. If you're planning to look for work and you're still in high school, please go ahead and apply for one now so that you've got it when you need it. When we're talking about filling out job application forms, it's very similar to filling out the types of forms that you might fill out for a social insurance number. This is a job application form. This is another example of a form you may need to fill out from time to time. It's normally used by employers to fill positions that are more temporary in nature and pay a lower salary. Summer jobs for students lasting anywhere from a week to several weeks, and part-time positions for longer periods of times are usually obtained by first filling out a job application. It's usually a page to 2 pages in length. These forms can be picked up at the place of work you're interested in. You fill it out and you return it. Reference letters. With the job application form, as with other forms, an employer will then have some personal information about you. In addition to your name, address, telephone number, email address, the employer will need to know your level of education, work experience if you have some, skills, interests, and at least 2 references, usually 3. Reference will be any person other than a family member or relative who would be willing to say some positive things about you. Example of references are a present or former high school teacher, a former employer or supervisor from a job you've held, and or a member of the clergy. If you've been working, you want to use your previous boss as long as they're willing to do it. Here is an example of a reference letter. Dear Catherine, April Rango has been an employee here at TRX Incorporated for the past 5 years. She has been a pleasure to work with, bringing her attention to detail to every project. Her communication and people skills are excellent, and she has some very innovative ideas. I can highly recommend her for the opportunity that you have available. It is a very similar position to the one she currently holds, and she is well suited to the challenges it provides. April is a talented young woman, and everyone here wishes her all the best with her move to every city. If you need any additional information, please contact. Okay, job application forms. When you're filling out a job application form, you should use a good pen, blue or black ink preferably, and print neatly. All the sections of the form are to be filled out as required. You must be completely honest with your information, or you could risk losing the job later should you be hired if something false is discovered. Please note, it is against the law for an employer to ask discriminatory questions on an application form. Things like how much do you weigh? Are you planning to get pregnant? Do you have children? All those things are not acceptable because they can't discriminate against people for those kinds of things. So the point to remember is that if you are qualified to do a certain job, then you have as much right to obtain the job as anyone else. There is also now more and more equality in the workplace, and jobs are usually open equally to males and females. A good example of this is with the police force. There are now more and more female officers, as you perhaps have noticed. If you have a criminal record of any kind, however, this can seriously affect and sometimes prevent you from most types of work. It kind of depends how serious it is, right? Nowadays, employers have the right to request that employees provide a criminal record check. Having said that, that usually only comes up in jobs where you're working with children or you're going to be handling large sums of money. They can ask for it. I don't find that necessarily most jobs do. Teachers have to, obviously. All right. So key question number 37 is completing a job application form. Here's the thing. You are going to have to find it, okay? So your task with this first assignment is to visit any employer within your community and request 2 copies of a job application form to fill out. So for example, you go down to the Northern and say, hey, I need to do this kind of activity for work. Do you have a job application form? Can I get 2 copies? If not, take one and maybe you can, photocopy the other one. If they don't use an application form, like some only accept a resume, then try a different employer. You're to use 1 copy of the form as a working or rough copy, and the other copy will be your good copy to submit for marking. Any form you're able to use will be fine, because normally employers ask the same types of information. It may be formatted differently or in different places, but generally job application forms are pretty similar. Again, tell them why you're doing it, that it's for this course. If you are obviously looking for work, then you can always hand it in. But if you're not looking for work, you do want to mention that so they understand what's going on, okay? Cover letters. A cover letter is an introductory letter for your resume. It can be written in either block or modified block format. Remember, we've talked about this before. A letter in block format has everything beginning on the left-hand margin of the page. Modified block format has some things starting 1/3 over or 2/3 over, just like usually the address and the close. Your letter should state, first of all, that you're applying for a certain position or a suitable position. And secondly, a few words about your education, your work experience, and your skills, especially as they relate to the position you're applying for. You can also inquire about the possibility of a job interview, and finally, thank the person for his or her time. A cover letter should be on a computer printout, except for your signature near the bottom of the page. It should be 1 page or less and be very neat with no errors in spelling, grammar, or punctuation. Here's a sample cover letter. This is in block format, which is pretty typical these days. So here up top would be your name and your address, then the date, and then who you are sending the letter to. Dear manager, which is fine if it's general. If you know the person's name, though, please do put the person's name there. If you're not, you can also use dear sir or madam, and that's considered acceptable. I would like to be considered for the position of cashier at your store as advertised. At present, I am a student with Wassa Distance Education Center and need only 2 credits in order to graduate with my OSSD. One course I am taking this term is English 4E, which focuses on being prepared for the workplace. I now feel confident that I can be an effective team player at your store and that I can handle the duties of cashier. I worked as a cashier part-time last year at the Northern store in Pickle Lake. I am an honest and hardworking person and also friendly and outgoing. I have good oral and organizational skills as required for this position and have some knowledge of building materials. I am willing to learn as much as possible in order to do my work successfully, so I am hoping that you will give me an opportunity in this position. I can be reached at any time for interview at 737-1234. Thank you for your time. Enclosed is a resume, yours sincerely, your signature, and then your name in print. Now, I'm going to say I would not put the part about school right there. I would put that a little bit farther down. I would mention that I've already been working as a cashier first and how long. I worked for a cashier part-time for 8 months, so I'm very familiar with what's required. And I would just kind of mention I'm almost finished my high school. I've been going back to take it. I wouldn't mention like a specific courses. I don't know why they put that there. Okay. So I'm not going any more into a job application form. They're usually extremely well explained. It'll say, here's your name. Here's where you put what jobs you've worked. Here's the addresses you need. It's like a doctor's application thing. You just kind of fill it out exactly what it tells you to do. You do, okay? You only send me your good copy. Then we're moving on to key question number 38, which is writing a cover letter. This part is also worth 20 marks. You are to choose a suitable job advertisement from a newspaper. It could be the Sioux Lookout Bulletin, Wawate News, or another larger paper like the Thunder Bay Chronicle, the Winnipeg Free Press. Following the sample cover letter that we just looked at, your task is to write a cover letter in response to the advertisement you select. So you're picking the advertisement, not me. You are to do a rough copy of your letter and then revise and edit it as necessary. You are then to produce a final copy of this letter on a computer. Both the rough copy and the final copy are to be submitted for marking. As you prepare to develop your letter, think about your purpose and audience and provide the most important details of information you can as an introduction to your resume. Be sure to review your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. The rough copy is worth 10 marks, and the final copy is also worth 10 marks. Here is the rubric I will be using to mark it. We're looking at that you follow the cover letter format, that you have a clear purpose in both the rough and the good, that you show an awareness of the audience, including both your style and your tone. This is again in both the rough and the good. Some people have been doing the rough like they just jot down a few brainstorming notes. No, it needs to be an actual rough copy. That's why I'm kind of mentioning this, right? Brainstorming, you don't even need to hand in to me. Details should include your personality traits and your skills and your work experience. Good copy must show revisions, that you've made significant changes in your wording, the sentence structure, the grammar, and your paragraphing. The good copy must also be edited for spelling, punctuation, and capitalization errors. Generally, a D is that there's many areas or very limited ability with showing that skill. C is that there's some errors or some ability. B is generally you're following things. There may be some minor areas, but generally you followed things effectively. A is kind of you've gone above and beyond. Things are super consistent, extremely effective, very well phrased, very well written. Okay. Okay, yeah, we talked about that already. We just did that one. Oh, okay. This one is just, I'm showing you some different formats for cover letters, just in case you're actually looking for work, right? This is fine for our assignment, but it may be a bit plain if you're actually looking for work. This one is a little bit more jazzed up. The person's got their name up top. Here is their address. Here is who they're sending it to. And then they've got their cover letter information right here. This is also kind of nicely formatted. So I think that's from Canva. I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. And you can kind of go in and just put your own information in there. Here's another one. I don't like the color graphic thing, but I do like this part where they've got the name up top, what their job ability is. You would only do that if you've got something that's very specific, right? Like if you're just looking for a more general office job, you might not put that. And then here we've got, here they just have placeholder text. So you would use that. Okay, so before you start writing your cover letter, you're going to want to brainstorm what you want to say about yourself. Think about what skills you have. think about what experience you have, what training have you got, right? Sometimes we have things like diplomas, but sometimes we've just had, oh, well, I had a, 1-day workshop on how to use Google Classroom, or we had a, 3-day training seminar on how to use Microsoft Excel. Those kind of things count too, because it still shows your possible employer that you have had some specific training, that you really do know how to use it like you're saying you do. You also want to point out personality traits, especially as they relate to the job. So like sales jobs usually talk a lot about being friendly, enthusiastic, highly motivated. If you're quiet, shy, and don't like talking to people, I wouldn't mention that in your job ad. In fact, I probably wouldn't apply for that job. So you got to think about that too. Different types of jobs do require different types of personalities. Now, sometimes the job ad is very specific about what kind of items they're looking for, and that gives you a lot to work with. Let me see if, I'm not sure if this is still working because they have been taking this down. A second. I'm going to put it into my search engine and see if it comes up that way. Oh, that's the opposite of what I wanted to do. My apologies. It's early in the morning and I'm still a little bit sleepy. Hang on a second. Sorry, guys. Okay. As always, I feel like I should have some music going on in the background for you guys when I'm doing this. Do 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 do. Oh, oh no, 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 no. Come on. All right. So let me do it. Hang on a second. Like I said, because they've closed the site, I don't know if things will still be there. Yeah, it's no longer available. Okay, so I'm sorry about that because last time I did this course, which was only like 9 weeks ago, it was available. Anyways, you can look on, say, Indeed or Monster or Workopolis. And like I said, you'll be able to see some are very specific about what they're looking for. Others are really not that detailed. They'll just be like, we're looking for a cashier, apply here. And you have to kind of think ahead and think, okay, if I want to be a cashier, what kind of skills do I need? What kind of personality do I need? Obviously, that's easier if you've done the job, but it's okay to apply for a job that you haven't done before. Things like a cashier is a very common entry-level job that they often hire people who haven't done it before, because it's not that hard to train people to learn how to do that, right? Okay, remember that your rough draft needs to be handwritten. Your good copy has to be done on the computer. It's fine to choose a job that you don't actually have the qualifications for, wouldn't really want. If you just found something interesting that you want to apply for, feel free. I'm only marking your writing, okay? I'm not marking whether what you wrote matches your actual qualifications. There are some sample letters you can use to help set up the formatting in Google Docs. Remember that because you are a WASA student, you have access to Google Docs through your Google email. And if you don't have access to your Google email yet, contact me or contact Katie Birch, and they will help get you set up so that you've got your Gmail, okay? It's super helpful to have. Okay, so once you've got your email, log into your Google account, and if you go to the upper right-hand corner of your computer screen, there should be a little circle with your initial, and then there's a little box full of dots. If you click on those dots, all the Google apps will open up, and there's often more than one page. If you're looking for the blue Google Docs icon, and you can click on it. Hopefully you've used it before, but not everybody has. Then here's what would come up: a blank form, which you're welcome to use if you want to, and then some pre-made forms. Here's a cover letter, here's a resume, here's a different cover letter. If you go into the template gallery, other things come up, but either one of these are perfectly acceptable for your letter. I happen to like the spearmint format best. You don't have to have everything left the way you want. You can also set up the formatting all yourself if you're happy and comfortable doing that. Okay, now this should work because it's mine and I should still have it. Okay, yay for computer technology that works. It's always nice when it does that, isn't it? All right. I was watching an interesting anime with my son this morning, so now my head is full of anime as I'm waiting. Gosh, my apologies for how long this is taking. Okay, so here it is. It's all set up. Okay. And you would just go in here and you can backspace, right? And then just put your name instead. And same thing here. You can go through all of it and just set things up exactly the way you want. You can change the formatting if you don't like the formatting. You can also change the color. Like if I don't want it to be green, which I myself would not, I would go in, see the A changes what color your text is, and I would just go to plain black. I believe you can also get rid of this line. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Cut. I could cut it. I could also probably change the color. I'm just going to cut it right out, and that's fine. Okay. Here they bolded the names. Okay. If I wanted to undo that, I would just select the text and then click on that. I like it. I think it looks nice. The other thing is, if you don't like the text font they've used up, you could just go through, select the entire thing because you want everything to be in the same font essentially. And then click through different fonts that you like. There's ones that are really typical are Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, Verdana. See if they even have Verdana. Google doesn't have everything that's typical. You think yeah, they do have Verdana. Okay. Those are some of the most common ones that get used. Libra Baskerville is fine. One thing to think about is whether you're handing it in electronically, like if you're emailing it to them, or if you're going to be handing it into them in person. If you're handing it into them electronically, I would stick to Arial or Calibri. If you're handing it in person, you're welcome to use Times New Roman. Sometimes that looks a little old-fashioned, but some people really like it. So it also depends on your age and the age of your boss, okay? But those are all things that you can play around with. You can also, if you haven't had the chance to do this before, format. I can change the spacing. Can I change my page setup? If I wanted to change something about the page setup, I could go into here. I don't want to do landscape. Oh, I thought I had that all turned off. You could change your margins and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's one thing you can use. Okay, creating your rough draft. Generally, you include your name, your address, and ways to contact you. Make sure to emphasize if there's more than one way to contact you, you want to make sure it's really clear. So for example, if you're wanting them to call you at work during the 9 to 4 hours or something, mention that to them. I would only do that if you're very sure that your boss is comfortable with people calling you at work for that kind of thing. If you're still working there and your boss has no idea you're looking for work, I would definitely not do that, okay? In that case, I would make sure to give them your private cell. After you've got your contact information, then you put their contact information, and then you would put a greeting. A greeting, or sometimes it's called a salutation, it's the same kind of idea. And you would just be like, dear, and then their name, or dear sir and madame. If you know their name, it's better to put the name, right? It's more personal. Don't forget, see that comma? You have to put that comma there. Then leave a space or two, not a space like here, but like an entire line of space before you start your next paragraph, okay? Your first paragraph, the very first sentence is always going to mention what job posting you're applying to. If they are any kind of a boss, smaller companies may only have one job posting, but bigger companies might have anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 job openings. You need to mention right away what job you're looking for, okay? If you've done the exact same job or a very similar job in the past, I would usually put that right after I mentioned the job. So if I had, I'm applying for the position of cashier at your store. I have worked as a cashier for 5 years. You want to link that right away. Hey, I've done this exact same job so that they know that you are a viable candidate right away. The standard is that it takes only about 6 seconds for a human resource person to look at your letter and decide right away, yep, we're going to hire that person, or look at that person, or no, we're not even going to bother looking at them. So you want to capture their attention in the first 5 to 10 seconds if you can. Here's an example. I am writing to apply for the job of full-time cashier advertised on the Sue Hudson job board. As a cashier at Giant Tiger for the last 2 years, I have the experience and ability to do this job well, and I would love the opportunity to work in this new business that you are opening. Okay. Then you're going to have probably 2 to 3 short paragraphs. You're trying to sell yourself as the perfect candidate for this, okay? So it's kind of a form of persuasive writing. You're trying to persuade the reader to hire you for the job, or at the very least, to bring you in for an interview, right? What experience do you have that would qualify you for this job? If you haven't done the exact job, have you done something very similar? What training or education have you had that might relate? Like if you haven't worked as a cashier, but you are a math whiz, this is where you would mention that. What skills do you bring? Certain computer skills, cashier experience, great ability to problem solve, fixing machines. What are your personality traits? Remember, we were talking about how sales positions might mention things like enthusiastic, friendly, or motivated. Whereas if you were working as, say, night security, it might be like needs to be independent, self-sufficient, able to work with minimal supervision. Different jobs are looking for different things. Short paragraphs are often easier to read. I would keep them to maybe 2, 3 sentences at the most. Remember that a cover letter never goes over a page. You don't have to get across every single thing that's in your resume. This is more like you're highlighting the most important things about your resume for this specific job, right? So you might have a resume, your resume is the same for everything, but one job you're applying for a cashier, and another job, maybe you're trying to apply for assistant sales manager or something. You're going to have a very different cover letter for those 2 different jobs. Closing the letter. The last paragraph often suggests an interest in coming in for an interview and ways to contact them. It's usually very upbeat and confident. Then you leave another space and you write your closing, and then sincerely leave a couple spaces for your signature, and then your name, and you're going to type that to make sure that they can read it. I want to address the issue of confidence. A lot of us have been raised or told a lot that it's not a good idea to brag. It's not a good idea to sound too confident, may make other people feel bad. But in the cover letter, you're going to throw all that advice out and you're going to sound as confident as you can. Like, I am the best candidate for this job. I am sure that I will be an asset to your company, because that's kind of what business people are looking for. If you sound like you don't think you're going to be very good at it, they're going to believe you and just not bother. So this is not the place to be shy or even really humble, right? Here's kind of where you're going to want to be very confident, even if you're not feeling it. If you're looking for a job and you have no work experience, that can be kind of tricky. However, one thing to look at is you can add volunteer experience to your cover letter. That could include minor things like, I volunteer to help chop firewood for elders. I am willing to help set up for feasts. I help run the radio station during funerals. It could include things like fundraising for sports teams. Maybe you help to run camps that run in the summertime, art camps, summer camps, science camps, Bible camps. Maybe you volunteer at the elementary school. If you aren't doing any of those things and you haven't worked yet, I would highly recommend looking for ways that you can volunteer around your community so that you have things that you can mention, and it gives you people that have worked with you that can give you a good reference, right? If you've helped out at the and volunteered at the elementary school, maybe you've helped out in kindergarten, done some reading with them. Well, now, not only do you have the kindergarten teacher who might be willing to write a reference, maybe the principal will be willing to write a reference for you as well. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. The other thing you can look at if you have no work experience is What kind of extracurricular activities have you been involved with at school? That might be things like sports teams, computer club, robotic or Lego club, arts clubs. Maybe you were involved in scouts and guides, rangers or junior rangers, drama club. All those different types of clubs and activities show off different skills. Like sports teams often have a lot of leadership. Computer club might have a lot of problem solving abilities. Those kind of things can be very relevant to a job, even if they're not doing the exact same activity. So look at the kind of things that you're involved in and what kind of skills do you need to be involved in those activities? Because any of these activities require some specific skills. You could also include any type of special award or competition you won, especially if it's relevant to the job you're applying for. So some examples might include school attendance awards. People are sometimes kind of surprised by that, but here's the thing. The kind of kid that attended school every day is also the kind of grown-up that's going to come to work every day. So that they do look for that, they like that. Things where you've gotten school subject awards, best math student, best English student, best native language. That shows them that you're diligent, that you work hard, that you're smart, that you pick things up. Things like poetry or writing competitions, talent shows, arts competitions. That can include things like band competitions, singing in a choir, dancing, drama, being involved in powwows. All those kind of things show that you have skills, but also that you are an interesting person that they might enjoy being with. It sounds kind of silly, but that's part of being at work too, right? You're going to be interacting with other people. They want to know, hey, who's this person going to be? What are they going to be like? Sports awards, most valuable player, best leadership, that kind of thing. All right, what else for no work? Oh, any kind of special talents or skills, especially if you have any kind of certificates, lifeguarding certificate, playing piano, speaking or writing in more than one language fluently. A lot of people around here do, and sometimes people don't think to mention that, but there's plenty of businesses that are looking for someone who can speak more than one language. Specific computer skills or knowledge of specific computer applications, things like Excel or QuickBooks, photography skills, acting or public speaking abilities, dancing or singing abilities. Those last two, it kind of comes to the idea of somebody who feels confident, who's probably a strong speaker, maybe very comfortable with oral skills. Those kind of things might be very useful, for example, in a sales position. Okay, let's take a look at a sample cover letter. This is an example for someone with no work experience. And I just kind of wanted to do this because I know some people may be kind of young out there and they're in this boat, and it can be kind of like confusing with how do I handle writing a cover letter about my work when I've never done it. So here's an example. Dear manager, I would like to be considered for the position of cashier as advertised in the Sioux Bulletin. I have strong math skills and received a B in my high school math course. I also helped do peer tutoring at the high school over lunch in math. I also helped our sports team do fundraising to earn money for sports tournaments. I volunteer at the soup kitchen on Thursdays and have learned how to be friendly and patient with people, even when they are making complaints. I am outgoing and love interacting with people. I know how to listen to instructions and pick up procedures quickly, as this is an important part of junior rangers, which I am also involved with. So here's how you're talking about your different skills and your different activities that show that you're a very well-rounded person, right? So here's a checklist for your cover letter. You want all of these to be yes. We've got yes, some, no. If you're looking at some or no, go back, revise, and think about how you can make it so that you do definitely have this aspect in your cover letter. A clear audience. Your purpose is stated. You have a formal tone. You do not want to be informal in a cover letter, okay? Included your important skills. You've included your important personality traits, usually at least maybe 2 or 3 good personality traits. Highlighted your most important work experience or volunteer experience or extracurricular. Followed the letter format, either block or modified block. Your rough copies in handwriting, your good copies on the computer with significant changes, and you've labeled them and handed both of them in to me. Here is, okay, so here is someone's cover letter. They've made a bunch of mistakes in how they formatted their sentences. It's probably the most common issue I see. So we're gonna read through it and see what do we need to fix to make this cover letter successful and have no errors in spelling, grammar, punctuation. I am writing to express my strong interest in the marketing coordinator position at Borcel Marketing. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing and 3 years of experience in marketing and communications. I believe I have the skills and experience necessary to excel in this role. Wow, I only see one period here. So that would be a problem. One key, remember, every sentence has to have a subject. In the first sentence, I is the subject. That would be a big hint. When I'm seeing I again, I've probably started a new sentence. So I am writing to express my strong interest in the marketing coordinator position at Borcel Marketing, period. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing and 3 years of experience in marketing and communication. There's another I there, so I'm going to stop here, period. I believe I have the skills and experience necessary to excel in this role. Now, I believe wouldn't stand on its own. It's introducing the idea that I have this next I. You could cut out the I believe, though. You don't have to have it there. The thing with business writing is generally shorter sentences are more effective. The longer a sentence is, the more likely it is that someone's going to get confused, forget what's coming out at the beginning of a sentence. You want to keep it short and sweet when you're doing business writing. In my current position at Lorena Incorporated, okay, they've underlined that as a spelling mistake, and here's the reason why. Incorporated INC is an abbreviation. Because it's an abbreviation, we should have a period there. I know it's fussy and little, and many people reading this won't notice, but some bosses will, and you don't want a spelling mistake to take you out of the running for a job. I have had the opportunity to develop and execute successful marketing campaigns across various channels, including social media, email, and traditional advertising. I have contributed to the development of marketing strategies by working closely with cross-functional teams to ensure successful execution. Okay. This part here with cross-functional teams either needs to be the beginning of a complex sentence or it's the end of a complex sentence. I would say because of the sentence ahead of it, it's probably just the end of a complex sentence. So I would take out this period, turn that capital W into a lowercase w. Because with cross-functional teams to ensure successful execution is not a sentence all by itself, right? It's an incomplete sentence. Okay, so I fixed that. I am excited about the opportunity to bring my skills and experience to Borcel Marketing and contribute to the success of the marketing team. Okay, that is another incomplete sentence. So I am going to change that period to a comma and change the capital A to a lowercase a. And now I've got a proper sentence. Thank you for considering my application. I look forward to the opportunity to discuss my qualifications further. Now it's trying to tell me, what does it not like about that? Oh. Huh. It doesn't like the comma. I'm not sure why. Okay, that worked. Not sure. No. Remove the comma. Okay. I think this is one of those things where if you only have 2 items, they don't think that you need the comma. I'm just kind of used to putting it there, but the computer is telling me that it's wrong, so we'll go ahead and say that it's wrong. All right, so these 2 assignments I think are actually pretty simple. You've applied for work before. This is probably a very fast exercise. If you haven't, that's why I included all the information about how to write it if you don't have work experience. Take the time to brainstorm, but you don't need to hand me in the brainstorming. Just hand me in the rough copy and then hand me in the good copy. Okay, hopefully this is helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's cover letters. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys later.